Hare Krishna. Good morning from Sridham Mayapur, dear devotees. So this is our daily class of Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't want to hear from all the conspiracy theories and all the depressing news and this and that. We just want to take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And today we have a very interesting subject matter, which is continuing from yesterday. We titled this today, When Art, Beauty, and Bhakti Manifest in the Senses. Shri Guru Nitai Gaur. Valava Jaya Girivara Jahare Valava Jaya Girivara Valava Jaya Girivara Nandana Jaya Raja Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good morning, dear devotees from Sridham Mayapur. It's morning here. I'd like to greet Lynn and Ashran. I'm also from Seattle at once upon a time. Amsumati, Madhupati Prabhu in Budapest. So many wonderful devotees. Thank you all for attending this morning. We have a very special topic today, continuing from our discussion yesterday about art, beauty, and bhakti. And I think we may also continue the same topic again tomorrow. So we're speaking from Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam, the king of all literature, Canto 3, Chapter 25, text number 36 today. Tardarshaniya vayavairudara vilasahasiksitavama sukritai hatatmano rita pranamscha bhaktir anichato megatim andimam prute. Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are free from all other engagements, and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. It says, in spite of his unwillingness, because in the previous verses it describes that the devotee has no desire to to get liberation. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, there are three divisions of devotees: first class, second class, and third class. Even the third class devotees are liberated souls. It is explained in this verse that although they do not have knowledge, simply by seeing the beautiful decoration of the deity in the temple, the devotees become absorbed in thought of him and lose all other consciousness. Simply by fixing oneself in Krishna consciousness, engaging the senses in the service of the Lord, one is imperceptibly liberated. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Simply by discharging uncontaminated devotional service, as prescribed in the scriptures, one becomes equal to Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. This means that the living entity in his original state is Brahman, because he's part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman. But simply because of his forgetfulness of his real nature as an eternal servitor of the Lord, he's overwhelmed. Anapani, could you get my phone from... He's overwhelmed and captured by Maya. His forgetfulness of his real constitutional position is Maya. Otherwise, he is eternally Brahman. When one is trained to become conscious of his position, he understands that he is a servitor of the Lord. Brahman refers to a state of self-realization. Even the third-class devotee who's not advanced in knowledge of the absolute truth, but simply offers obeisances with great devotion, thinks of the Lord, sees the Lord in the temple, and brings forth flowers and fruits to offer to the deity, becomes imperceptibly liberated. Shadanvitaha. With great devotion, the devotees offer worshipful respects and paraphernalia to the deity. The deities of Radha and Krishna, Lakshmi and Narayan, and Ram and Sita are very attractive to devotees, so much so that when they see the statue decorated in the temple of the Lord, they become fully absorbed in thought of the Lord. That is the state of liberation. In other words, it is confirmed herein that even a third-class devotee is in the transcendental position above those who are trying for liberation by speculation or by other methods. Even great impersonalists like Shukadeva Goswami and the four Kumaras were attracted by the beauty of the deities in the temple, by the decorations, and by the aroma of tulsi offered to the Lord, and they became devotees. Even though they were in a liberated stage, instead of remaining impersonalists, they were attracted by the beauty of the Lord and became devotees. Here the word bilas is very important. Bilas refers to the activities or pastimes of the Lord. It is a prescribed duty in temple worship that not only should one visit the temple to see the deity nicely decorated, but at the same time he should hear the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or some similar literature which is regularly recited in the temple. It is a system in Vrindavan that in every temple there is recitation of the Shastras. Even third-class devotees who have no literary knowledge or no time to read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita get the opportunity to hear about the pastimes of the Lord. In this way, their minds may remain always absorbed in the thought of the Lord, His form, His activities, and His transcendental nature. This state of Krishna consciousness is a liberated stage. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service. 1, to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 2, to associate with devotees and serve them as far as possible. 3, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4, to see the decorated temple and the deity. And, if possible, 5, to live in a place like Vrindavan or Mathura. These 5 items alone can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. And here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the third-class devotees can also imperceptibly achieve liberation. Is accepted in all Vedic literatures. Gora Graganya Ganagocha Goloruharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyara Kopa Briksham Gopalagada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Vanchakalpa Vidubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayeva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this verse I want to focus a little something upon the words Kritatmano Hrita Pranam. Hrita means the heart. It also means to be captivated. So Hritatmana, the devotees, their minds become captivated. And Hrita, captivated again, prana, their senses, or literally means their life air, becomes captivated by the Lord. So yesterday we were speaking something about art, bhakti, and beauty, and how Krishna's beauty is not with him, just as art, the object of art, is not appreciated by the art itself, nor is it truly appreciated in the best way by the artist, but it's appreciated by someone who's a connoisseur. So some of these 3 things, bhakti, bhakta, and bhagavan, are inherently connected. If you have a work of art, but you don't have someone to appreciate it, then the art has no meaning. And yesterday, we gave a simple definition of what art can be. Art, we suggest, is expression that moves the heart. And we were speaking more about this yesterday amongst ourselves here during the day, because that's what Srimad Bhagavatam should be for, parasparana kathanam pavanam bhagavadyasa. That the discussion, the class that we have, so-called class, should evoke some discussion. It should evoke some thought about the subject matter, which should continue with us throughout the day so that our minds are completely absorbed. And so yesterday we were speaking about how art can be practically anything. The word art comes from the Latin word artem, which refers to some kind of skill. And it usually refers to the quality or expressions of something which is beautiful or has some great significance. So in this sense, in this original meaning of the word art, we're not so satisfied with it completely, because we may say that art just refers to then to some kind of craft, some expertise in crafts. But art more refers to bhakti. It means it's something which is very beautiful. The word beauty is two words. It comes from the French word beauté, which means some physical attractiveness or goodness, courtesy. It comes from the Latin word belitatem, which means a state of being which is pleasing to the senses. Similarly, the word ascetic comes for meaning something which is pleasing. It comes from the Greek word, sometimes used as a synonym for the word art. It comes from the Greek word ascetikos. And at that time, it was defined as something relating to perception by the senses. There's a combination of two words, aesthetica, meaning perceptible things, and aesthestai, meaning to perceive some ascetic things. So this verse today is also speaking about the same topic, hritatmana hritta pranam, that when the mind becomes captivated, then this goes to the senses. And so yesterday also we gave some description of the nature of art from the great secular artist Leonardo da Vinci. I guess he was a Christian artist. He said that the lover is drawn by the thing loved as the sense is by wit that it perceives. To put it simply, art permeates the senses, and we see this in the root meaning of the word beauty, that beauty refers to something which is pleasing to the senses in its original meaning. And similarly, asceticism, which is a root word of art, means to perceive something with the senses. So art is something that we perceive through the senses. Bhakti is something which we practice through the senses. It's described by Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He defines what is bhakti. This is his definition of bhakti. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchate. He says this is bhakti, bhakti uchate. The bhakti is defined as service to the Lord using the senses. And it should be done with the intention, rishikena rishikesha sevanam, to serve the Lord, and by that service please his senses. And if it's really to really be bhakti, it has to be sarvapadi vinirmuktam. It has to be free from all other desires and unobstructed by other processes. That's bhakti. And again, as we spoke yesterday, this has a similar connection with art. That art is something which uses the senses. The sense of touch, the sense of taste when someone cooks, that's also an art. And art is meant for the senses to become completely absorbed. Or as this verse is speaking today, ritatmana ritta pranam, that the mind should become captivated, the senses should become captivated. And this is the purpose of all the original arts. The source of the arts, history of the arts, we see, comes from religious practice. The very word music is said to come from God when he was speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai. And God spoke to Moses, and the first words that Moses heard from God were muzak, meaning listen, Moses. And the voice of God was so beautiful that this became the word music, which is one of the primary arts. And music is art which is perceived through the sense of hearing. Bhakti is something which is done with the senses, perceived through the senses, done with the senses for the pleasure of the Lord's senses. So the senses are very, very intrinsic parts of both art and bhakti. We have this word, asceticism, that to appreciate with the senses, to perceive with the senses. And there's a similar word, ascetic, which means someone who's an ascetic, who's a monk, and it comes from the word askin, which means to exercise or to train. It came originally to train for some athletic competition. It means to become one-pointed, because an athlete has to be completely one-pointed. And so they practice asceticism, rigorous self-discipline. But this is also a similar meaning to bhakti. The bhakti means sarvapadi vinirmuktam taparat. It means giving everything, focusing all the senses on the pleasure of the Lord. Now, both the nature of bhakti and art are intrinsically connected with the senses, and both of them are perfected. They reach their culmination when there's chamatkar, or astonishment. As we spoke yesterday from Anchalila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1, text 195, art or poetry there is defined, kim kavyena kavestasya kim kandena dunusmata parasharidaye lagnam na gunayati yachchira. What is the use of a bowman's arrow or a poet's poetry if they penetrate the heart but do not cause the head to spin? So this is the nature of poetry, the nature of art. It should penetrate the heart, but it should also cause the head to spin. It should become just completely astonishing, meaning we should become so absorbed in that thing that we forget about everything else. And therefore, as we also spoke yesterday, that both art and bhakti, which have so much in common, and ultimately the ultimate combination of art is bhakti, and bhakti is art, is the topmost art, that they're both meant to give us some relief from the pains and problems in this world. They're meant to take us to another place. When we see some art and someone becomes completely absorbed in it. Now, if someone's not a proper connoisseur of art, they can't appreciate it, they'll just look at it and say, wow. If they see something which Brajabanita has done, Brajabanita is an artist who does makeup, and we call him a makeup artist in America. They see that she's painted someone, oh, they have some lipstick. They'll just see in a crude way. They won't appreciate the subtlety that goes on in that. Everything can become art in that sense, and everything can become bhakti. As we were speaking yesterday amongst ourselves, even one line, if it's drawn in a certain consciousness, that one line that's drawn, if there's a person who's a proper recipient, a proper connoisseur, a proper rasik, when he sees that one line, which is drawn perhaps by the gopis. Radharani sometimes draws one line in the sand with her toe to indicate that she's angry with Krishna. And that one line, for someone who's really close with Krishna, whose senses have become, who's close with Radharani, whose senses have become permeated with a desire to please her, Rishikena Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhaktiruchate, that's really bhakti. They can understand the meaning of that line. And it makes them want to faint. Krishna, when he sees that one line, oh, now I'm in big trouble. But it's just one line. What is one line? Similarly, Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says that color, just one color, evokes different feelings and emotions. White is the color of Hasya Ras, the color of laughter, whereas bluish black is the color of Madhurya Ras. And gold is the color of Madhanakya Mahabhav. And these different colors evoke different emotions and different feelings just by themselves. Similarly, we were speaking yesterday, when someone walks, you can just walk, but that walking is art. Now, that may sound very doubtful to you. If it sounds doubtful to you, you never studied drama. I was studying drama before I joined the Hare Krishna movement. And you can speak so much to the way you walk. The way a drunkard person walks is a certain way. The way an old person walks is a certain way. The way a lusty young woman walks, wanting to attract the attention of all the men, is another way. And the way the gopis walk has a certain meaning to it. And Krishna sees it. That walking, that activity, the bhakti is permeating his senses, and it's expressed through that walk. So that's the perfection of art. It's a perfection of bhakti when the senses become possessed by that bhakti. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu describes this. Tatrapi chaviseshena gatim anvim anipchata bhakti hritamana pranan premna tan kurute janan. Now here the same word, hrita, is being used, which was used in today's verse, hritmatmano hrita pranam, but here it means to take possession of. And Rupa Goswami here is speaking about the nature of Krishna prema, or the topmost level of bhakti. He says, by prema, bhakti, the bhakti processes, the different functions of bhakti, such as hearing, such as tasting, such as smelling, they take possession of the mind and the senses of the persons, even who don't want liberation, which is a topic also. That this is the nature of someone who's really, truly a connoisseur of bhakti, truly a connoisseur of art. They're not just thinking about their own selfishness, but their mind is open. So similarly, a devotee who's a real practitioner of bhakti, he's not just wanting liberation for himself. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his commentary on this verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says that these processes of bhakti, they take possession of the devotee's minds and senses, the prana, again, which is a word used in the verse today from Lord Kapila Dev, hritmatmano hrita pranam, the senses, the prana, or the life air, through the influence of prema. He says that means their minds and senses become bhakti itself by the influence of prema. It's an astonishing thing. When those senses become completely absorbed in bhakti, this is the nature of art, the culmination of art. And as we said, the origin of all the different arts comes in religion. We see traditionally in the temples in India, the temples were the promoters and the protectors of art. And every temple would have wonderful paintings and carvings and beautiful dresses for the deity, and the culmination of the topmost cooking and things for the deity, and the topmost oils, and everything was art that they're doing for the deity. And they're singing for the pleasure of the deity, playing musical instruments, dancing for the deity, performing drama. This is the meaning of drama in all the arts in Vedic culture. If we study drama alone, if you look in the history of drama in Vrindavan, what is the purpose of that drama? It's a very interesting thing. The actors come out on the stage, and you see a young boy or young girl, and they're playing as Krishna, they're playing as Radharani. And the audience becomes so absorbed in watching that drama that they forget their own bodies. And this is the nature and the perfection of bhakti, that we forget all about our own body, we forget all about our upadhis, our designations of this body, and we just become completely absorbed. We're taken to another place. And the amazing thing about drama is that everyone in the audience then, they develop the same consciousness. They're taken to this other place, and they're living. They're in Vrindavan. They're in Ram Leela. In Orissa, there's a couple stories from the book Bhaktamala, which is told, written and composed, what's his name, by, the author's name's Nabadas. Thank you, Krishna. I forget. It was a book appreciated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And in there they tell a story about some traditional drama troupe in Orissa. Drama to this day is very popular in the villages of India. And we used to see with our Guru Maharaj, he would invite drama troupes to come, or he would have the devotees perform dramas. And they would start sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, and they would go to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And they would just watch, completely absorbed all night long. And the actors, it's considered in that drama that the actor, his senses become so absorbed in meditating on the Lord that he's no longer himself. Drama is a culmination of all the arts. It's the crest jewel of all the arts, because within drama, we find all the different arts. We find music, we find dance, we find poetry, we find, sometimes they have cooking as part of the drama. They're eating something or they're cooking something. We find paintings. Sometimes they have beautiful backdrops. We find beautiful ornaments and clothing. All the different arts culminate in drama. And it's considered the perfection of drama, the proper use of drama, when the actor becomes so absorbed that he's no longer himself. And that's why traditionally to this day, in the dramas in Vrindavan, after the young boys and girls, they're playing Radha and Krishna or whatever, then after the end of the drama, the young actors, they sit on the stage, and all the people who are watching the drama, they come and they offer fruits and flowers or money, obeisances to those personalities. They touch their feet, they take a little prasadam from them, because it's considered that boy and girl have become Radha and Krishna. That's the tradition of drama. And this is displayed in a beautiful story spoken by Navadas, which took place, a history. That's a story, but a history in Orissa, that once there was one actor who was in a drama, and he was playing Lord Nrsingadev. And he became so absorbed, so one with the mood of Lord Nrsingadev, that in the drama, when he came out of the pillar, he grabbed the actor who was playing Hiranyakashipu, and this actor who was playing Lord Nrsingadev was so furious. And he grabbed the actor who was playing Hiranyakashipu, he put him on his lap, and with his hands he actually pierced the body of that person and ripped out his intestines. And much to the horror of the audience there, that actor who was playing Hiranyakashipu died. And there was Navadas says there was some confusion after that. People weren't really sure. Well, should we put him in jail for this? Or maybe he was just really absorbed. And somehow they let him go. Later, that same actor who was playing Lord Nrsingadev was in another drama, and he's playing Maharaj Dasarath, the father of Lord Ramachandra. And in the drama, when Lord Ram went to the forest, Dasarath dies of a broken heart. And in the drama, the actor who was playing Dasarath, who previously played Lord Nrsingadev, he actually died. He was so completely absorbed. I read in the newspaper about a drama that was going on in Orissa. And there was one actor who was playing Hanuman. And this actor, as part of the drama, he's a very powerful person. He's a good person to play Hanuman. As part of the drama, he climbed a palm tree that was there. And very big tree, but he's a powerful person. He climbed to the top of the tree, and perhaps he's going to look out or something. On the top of that tree, unknown to him, was a crate, one of the most deadly poisonous snakes in all of India. Sometimes I've heard people call him a three-step, because they say that's how far you walk after you've been bitten before you die. He climbed to the top of that tree, not knowing that poisonous snake was there, and the snake bit him in the chest, just over his heart. He's a dead man. And he fell from the top of the tree to the ground, and he got up and walked away. In the newspaper, it was there, because he was so absorbed in the mood of Hanuman. So this is a culmination when art and the object of art and the person appreciating the art, it permeates the senses. This is a perfection of art. This is a perfection of bhakti. And the devotee in such a platform, Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam yacha mayi pashyati, tashyaham na panishyami, sachamena panishyati. Krishna says in the Gita that he sees me everywhere. He sees everything in me. I'm never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. This is a perfection of art. This is a perfection of bhakti. And so this verse today is speaking about hritmatmano hritta pranams, that it captivates, Prabhupada translates, their minds. It captivates their prana, their senses. Another meaning of hrita is to steal. In the Govinda Lilamrita, a work of great art by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he gives a very beautiful verse speaking about the beauty of Krishna, the nature of Krishna, which is what we're hearing about in this verse today. He says, Gokular Gokulam Ninye Gokulam Gokular Haran. The word Haran has the same bij dhatu as the word Hrita, means to steal. Gokular Gokulam Ninye Gokulam Gokular Haran. Gokulam Gokula Strinam Gokular Gokuleshvara. He's a great artist. He's done such a beautiful poetry in this verse. He's using the syllable go again and again in practically every word. And the translation is, the Lord of Gokul drove his cows, Gokul, as he entered Gokul, stealing the senses, Gokul. Stealing the senses means Gokul, of the young girls of Gokul, and the eyes of the people of Gokul. So this is art. Art is something which is not just static, but as Srila Prabhupada would say, it's ecstatic. Art is meant to create wonder. Art is meant to pierce the heart and make the head spin. But art really culminates in bhakti. And unless there's bhakti there, it's not really art. It's some kind of crafts. It's some kind of mental speculation. But it's not really what we would consider to be art. So I'd like to continue this discussion tomorrow. I'm not sure, maybe on the same verse or maybe on the next verse, but I'd like to give a little time for some discussion. And sometimes I get in trouble around here because I go too late. So we're trying to avoid that. Mahendra Prabhu, nice to see you here. And Pushpa Gopal, Hare Krishna. Madhupati is asking a kind of question. Is it correct to say that when a, quote, artist produces something that is not intended to please the senses of Rishikesh, but those of the beholder, it's not genuine art? We would consider like that. It's not genuine bhakti. For us, we see the 64 arts. Bhakti is sometimes translated as the 64 arts. One of the names for Krishna is Kalanidhi, or that person who is a great connoisseur of art. One of the names for Orissa is Utkal, the place of great art. You can't separate art from bhakti. The two are inseparably connected together. And as we've been presenting, the culmination, the real culmination of art is in bhakti, to understand the form of God. So if something is done not for the purpose of pleasing the senses of Krishna or Rishikesh, then yes, it's not genuine art. It's some other imitation. Madhupati says, in other words, is it cheating on the Lord if someone uses his skills for some other purpose in serving the senses of the Lord? Yes, we consider that in the ultimate sense to be cheating. So we should use all of our senses. If someone's a grihasta, they're using their senses to serve Krishna through serving their family, to help their family become devotees. And Lynn's commenting about it's wonderful you've been able to visit the temples in Seattle or Portland. Oh, Ashwin's saying that. And Lynn has said, no, she'll have to explore them when they reopen. Yeah, I was a president for one time in Seattle, a long time ago. It's nice to hear devotees are still going on there. Mahendra Prabhu, nice. So are the Leelas a form of art? Well, what is the origin of art? According to the Bhakti Ratnakara, the origin of art is the Ras Leela. When Krishna is meeting with the gopis, and all the different arts are presented there. It begins with rag. Rag means to attract. But rag, in Western sense, we could translate it, another meaning is melody. That's not a very good translation. But melody, there's different ragas. There's a Sabari rag, which means the Asabari, or the great hope, or it's crying out from the heart. And different ragas, these different melodies, evoke different emotions. But the word rag also means to attract. So the Ras Leela began with rag. Krishna was playing on his vamsi, and he was playing different ragas, and rag, he was attracting the gopis. And so then the gopis came, and what was the next thing? The next thing was tall, in the form of the gopis running to Krishna. And their running was also art. They were keeping a beat when they were running, literally. And then the gopis, they began playing kartals, they began playing different types of drums to accompany Krishna's flute. And then there's singing, and then there's dancing. All of these begin with the Ras Leela. There's cooking for the pleasure of Krishna and Radharani. There's paintings which they use to decorate the kunjas. There's gardening, which they use to make the kunj. There's all the different arts are there. And all those arts in the Ras Leela, then they culminate, the height of them is in drama. And how does drama come about? We know in the Ras Leela that Krishna was dancing with the gopis, but at a certain point, Krishna left the Ras Leela. And the gopis, their feelings became so intensified, which is a nature of art. When someone's appreciating art so much, that art enters into the senses. So those gopis, they became mad, and they forgot all about their own bodies. They forgot all about their own identity. They forgot who they were. And they became so absorbed in the object of art, Krishna, that the gopis began to act like they were Krishna. And one gopi begins playing on a flute. Another gopi, as we see in Tota Gopinath temple, Srimati Radharani begins playing the veena, and while Lalita is acting like she's Krishna. And those deities become blackish, because in the Ras Leela, the gopis become so absorbed in Krishna, thinking of Krishna, they become blackish. One gopi acts like she's Putana. Another gopi acts like baby Krishna comes and begins sucking on her breast, and then the Putana demon dies. One gopi acts like Vatsasura, another gopi acts like Krishna and begins to whirl her around. And this way the gopis they could become completely absorbed in Krishna Leela. In Kavi Karnapur's Ananda Vrindavan Champu, he describes there that at that time in the Ras Leela, the gopis became so absorbed in Krishna that Krishna entered into their bodies. This is drama, as we were giving examples of before. So this is the nature of Leela. Leela is also a very great art form. Leela it can be in the form of poetry. Leela can be expressed through the form of paintings. We wrote some articles some years ago about Patachitra art. And in Patachitra art, there are different mediums, there's different types of paintings. One is called Ras Leela. And Ras Leela, as a medium in Patachitra art, as a genre, it refers to any type of painting which illustrates Radha and Krishna and the gopis. And there's another category of painting they call Mathura Vijay, when Krishna leaves Mathura and he leaves Vrindavan, he goes to Mathura. And in this way, there's different categories of those paintings which display different leelas. And similarly, there's poetry expressed in those leelas. There's ragas which express the leelas, there's singing which express the leelas, there's dramas which express the leelas. Those leelas are, in one sense, the heart of that, because Krishna is the heart of all the different arts. So anybody else have any comments or questions, they can speak up. Anapani Radha, our resident mad artist, because artists, that's what happens when art goes to the mind. They become completely mad. And here's one mad artist right now. I'm going to say something.
I really, really mark the point which you said even before the class, that bhakti and art means concentration. So, and I also was thinking how our society meant to create artists, because bhakti all about concentration. And in this world, everything about not to be concentrated. But bhakti inquires this concentration, and it means the devotees, if they're really seriously practicing bhakti, they're definitely going to be artists in any sphere. But I have a kind of...
There's an expression, weapons of mass distraction, which refers to Facebook and Twitter and all these things, and they're weapons of mass distraction. And our president of the United States is an expert in distraction. When things go wrong, he comes up with something else to distract people away. So that distraction, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, and a buddhiyam vyavisayanam, that someone who's a multi-branch, bahusakahinantasya buddhiya vyavisayanam, they can't become absorbed. They can't really become an artist, because an artist means someone who's a kantak, who's one-pointed completely. You want to continue?
Yeah, but I have a question. For example, in our society, we have so many things to do every day, so many different things to do. We start from the morning, and then so many things. And at the beginning, when you don't have this full Krishna consciousness, when you understand that everything is service for Krishna, for Guru, every detail is cooking, cleaning, making garland, whatever, doing something. It's you cannot do it as an art. So and how to do it, and sometimes it seems like, for example, you have some ability and something particular. Somebody can draw, somebody can play music instruments, and he can be concentrated on this, but it's difficult to be concentrated on other things and do it as an art. So can you please comment on this?
Very interesting topic. So bhakti means to engage the senses in the service of the giver pleasure of the senses. And there's two aspects of bhakti. There's vaidhi bhakti when we're practicing, and there's raganuga bhakti when it becomes automatic. And in his commentary in the 12th chapter of the Gita, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he speaks about three things: abhyasa, manana, and smarana. So in the beginning, we're practicing with abhyasa. And then we begin to contemplate it. And at this point of contemplation, this is when the senses become more purified. And then the mind becomes purified, and that bhakti begins to permeate the senses. As Rupa Goswami was speaking, we were reading a little earlier. And that bhakti begins to enter into the senses, then they become completely absorbed. And they can see and understand that activity, what they're doing it for. Whereas on the platform of abhyasa, and the platform of vaidhi bhakti, it's difficult. And we're just, I'm doing this because the temple president told me. God, I hate washing dishes and folding clothes. Oh my God, that's like torture, like anything. And someone's thinking like that. And they're thinking, this is really a bummer. I really don't like this. I should be making a painting. I should be doing music. That's real art. Folding clothes is not art. But for the gopis of Vrindavan, folding clothes is art. And while they're folding the clothes, they're singing beautiful songs. They're making up songs about Krishna. While they're churning butter, they're making music and singing about Krishna, because their senses are so completely absorbed in Krishna. So we should train ourselves in that way. And then in that sense also, that art means rishikena rishikesha, sevanam bhakti uchate. It means service for the pleasure of Krishna. And that means whatever has been given to me. It's not that Krishna comes and says, would somebody wash the dishes, please? And you say, I don't want to do that. I want to dance with you in the Ras Leela. What is all this washing dishes? I'm an artist. That's nonsense. I don't appreciate. You're not appreciating me properly. That's a kind of selfishness, and their senses haven't become absorbed. And the source of the senses and the object of the senses is Krishna. They haven't been practicing bhakti yet. They're doing something external. Is that okay, Anupayani? For Anupayani, rather, for those who don't know her, for her, doing dishes and folding clothes is like a traumatic experience. You want to make another comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. So, if you're on the way on the platform of the vaidhi bhakti yet still, and so the way to overwhelm these kind of feelings is just to train yourself to thinking about how Krishna is want to ask you, for example, wash the dishes, or your Guru Maharaj ask you, please wash the dishes or something. So, and if we try to overwhelm us with different stupid feelings like this because of our selfishness, it's gonna work, right?
It's not just a mental adjustment, though, either. Someone can tell you, you should really like washing dishes because it's for Krishna. But it doesn't work, does it? Even you can preach to them, even your guru can tell you, you should like washing dishes. Yeah, I should like washing dishes. But why is it you can't like doing that thing? It's because my senses are not purified. Because I'm absorbed in thinking my body is myself. I'm full of selfishness. I have all these different upadhis and designations, and therefore, cheto darpana marjanam. That when our senses become absorbed in bhakti and they become purified, then they become free from selfishness, and this bhakti permeates them, and we realize, oh, I don't, we forget all about ourselves. When we become to the platform of samadhi, we forget that our body even exists. And we're just completely absorbed in how can I please the Lord? How can I please Krishna? So that it's not just a mental adjustment, but it comes when we engage all of our senses. We engage our hearing, we engage our touch, in touching the deity, in picking flowers, touching those flowers for the deity, and making clothes for the deities. We engage our sense of hearing and hearing the kirtan. We engage our tongue in chanting and speaking about Krishna. We engage all of our senses. Then our senses become purified, and we can actually begin to render bhakti. That time, then they control the mind. Anapayana.
So, but what if you kind of had this experience that it doesn't matter for you what you're doing, you're really complete full of bliss and doesn't matter, just doing it as a service for my guru and devotees. But after some time, it seems like your senses were cleaned for some time, if I can say like this. But after some time, a year or something, 2 years, so they again polluted, or what happened? What's going on?
Well, I'll say something a little sober, that if we do offenses, then we may lose whatever taste we have, and we may punarmushika bhava, we may become a mouse. So therefore we don't distinguish between services. What if you leave this body, you achieve perfection, you go to the spiritual world, and Krishna says, I have a special job for you. I want you, just as Jiva Goswami and Paramatma and Priti Sandarbha says that the Pandavas and Kunti are eternal associates of Krishna in the material world. They're always, Prabhupada speaks about this in one letter also. They're with Krishna constantly, so they're liberated. But they're in the material world. And I mention this because the example of service I'm about to give doesn't take place in the spiritual world. So what if you achieve perfection, you go to Krishna, and Krishna, here I am, and I'm ready to do service, and what do you want? And Krishna says, I want you to clean the toilets. What are you going to say? It's not in the spiritual world. There's no toilets in the spiritual world. They don't have to do that. There's rumors of toilets in the spiritual world. But there's no actual... They don't have bodily functions like that. But there's no bodily nasty things coming out and things like that. There may be something which is like a place you're taking bath or whatever, but there's no question of that. But in the material world, when Krishna performs his pastimes here, those things go on here. So whatever Krishna tells us, whatever Gurudev tells us, that's the perfection of everything. And then naturally, a natural propensity will arise from our heart, not from our mind, from our material mind. The sense is, oh, I really like being an artist. I don't like washing dishes. I'm not qualified for that. No, but our senses become purified, and we just want to please Krishna. And then Krishna will reveal what is our sthayi bhava, what is our eternal nature. I want to read Lynn, some comment. Okay, is that okay? On the plane, is that right? Okay, so we're going to stop here. And tomorrow we'll continue this discussion a little further about the nature of these things, art, beauty, and bhakti, and how they manifest in the senses. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanshakalpatarubhishcha.